when I should have left myself alone. But I couldn't have, oh no, I couldn't have. I always open my gut when I shouldn't have, oh no, I shouldn't have.
Chief, thank you so much. I don't think I've ever been apologized to for not being stalked. That's got to be a number
sorry
one.
that I didn't have time to stalk you.
Yeah, it's usually turn around and, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we must have just, taken the right turns for the past half an hour.
Exactly.
Mate, you do fascinating stuff.
Thank you. I do random shit is what I do.
Well, it's fascinating.
Here we are. How was your day started, Alex?
Mate, pretty well. I did the morning classes, which is always fun. You get weary eyes walking into a CrossFit gym at 5:30 in the morning saying, what we doing today, coach? You're like, well, I'm going to dish out a little bit of punishment. I'm going to give you a high five when it's finished, and I'll shout at you if you're not doing well.
I mean, those are very clear instructions. And as someone who cares very much about plain, clear, transparent communication, like that's winning right there.
Mate, I think the biggest thing that came up for me looking at your stuff is egos don't like you.
Yeah.
I
the
fucking
number
love
of
it.
times as a people pleaser in recovery, I can't even tell you the number of times that I see that tagline and go, oh, fuck, you should change that. You should change that. It's not really you. It's not really who you are. You don't really like making people uncomfortable. But it's true. It is true that people with big fat egos don't like me these days, and I'm just going to own it. Yeah.
Why don't they?
So if I, as a wahine Māori, as a Māori woman who has just turned 50 this year and has done a lot of work unpacking shit and understanding the things that have held me back and questioning the lies that life has told me so that I can kind of lean into my own truth. I am going to call out as a general rule, stale pale males, where traditionally most of the power has sat. And some of them get very triggered by me being happy, feeling powerful, and having a strong voice. So the ones who take it personally, I don't even know what. I mean, I posted a picture of me in a bikini on LinkedIn, which, as someone who used to weigh 120 kilos and has had gastric bypass surgery and all this kind of stuff, I've never done that before. I bought this flat belly, just saying. I paid good money for that. And I posted a picture of me and my 27-year-old son comparing abs.
Nice. And
some old white guy commented on there, your legs look like tree trunks. I'm like, First of all, I don't care. Clearly, I'm happy with my body, which is why I put it out there. Second of all, what bothered you so much that you thought you needed to comment? Third, what are you trying to achieve with that comment? Because as far as I'm concerned, because it doesn't cause me any harm, it just shows the world some things about you. So I guess it's those kinds of things that comment comes from.
Can you say that thing again? Stale, pale, what was the thing?
Stale, pale male.
That's fucking brilliant, mate.
Stale, pale male.
I've never heard that before. I think that's wonderful.
You don't hang out in the same circles I do. We also talk about the caucasity of things, not the audacity, the caucasity. Yeah. And look, hey, my mother is not Māori. My mother, all of her ancestry is English, British. On my dad's side, I've got the Māori ancestry. I've also got Welsh and Irish. I'm sure there's some Scottish in there somewhere. So it's not about that. It's about reclaiming the power of an indigenous voice that for so many of us has really been lost or oppressed for a really long time. That's all it is. And to reclaim that, you have to speak out against the things that have kept it constrained or oppressed.
I once heard the world ask you one question, and that's, who are you? And if you don't have an answer, it tells you.
Ooh, that's scary.
And I think most people don't truly know their answer. So they don't truly know who they are. So then they're told, right? It's like, this is who you are. And then you're, okay, I guess I got to go along with this now. And we got this disconnect, right? We got this fighting with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alex Thomas, who are you?
I'm a bloke from a very northern place. That's what I am. I'm a lover and a fighter. That's what I am.
Nice. Beautiful. Love that.
A guy that doesn't fit in anywhere, so that means he must go everywhere.
Say that again.
A guy who doesn't fit in anywhere, so that means he must go everywhere.
Ooh. Do you really not fit in anywhere?
I was once told by
question. I'm interested.
I know, but if I'm going to give you an answer, I'm always going to give you the truthful one. I got a very good friend of mine, I call him family, and he once said to me, find your people. He said, life's simple, you just got to find your people. And it really summarized a lot of feelings over a lot of years. So do I really not fit in anywhere? Yes and no. And I think that find your people, those three words stuck together in a specific order, I think really breaks down a lot of lines in sand that we like to obey. You know, this flag that we wave around and be like, I gotta live and die by this piece of cotton, you know, and the colours upon it. The fuck are we talking about? You know,
Right,
like
it's crazy.
we have so much more in common with people that you never would have known, never would have guessed either. Never would have guessed.
100%.
And I find that freeing.
Yeah, I love that. For me, the idea of find your people, people often say to me, like, how do I find them? And my answer to that is you show up. And you have to show up as you, and you have to show up as fully you, and you have to show up in a way that you are willing to know some people won't like, and that you're not going to be for everyone. And that's been one of the greatest learnings for me, because I was raised in a conservative Christian religion, beautiful family, very safe, secure, loved, you know, full, like I believed in my own potential, right? So it wasn't a story of being oppressed. But I did care very much about doing the right things and being a good girl. Right? I cared very, very much. In fact, that's what life was all about. So in my late 30s and my 40s, and now moving into my 50s, I'm constantly challenging the little messages that I receive about what I can and can't do, or what I shouldn't do, or what's not okay. I'm always going, hang on, pause. Who says? Right. And so as someone who has always wanted to fit in and be a good girl and be a people pleaser, putting myself out there in the world in a way that just goes, I'm just going to fucking say it like it is for me. And I have to be ready for the fact that some people won't like it, and that some people will be like, oh, you shouldn't swear so much. And that some people will think that I shouldn't have this on my face and whatever. But it's a very real, explicit process for me to shore myself up for that discomfort that others will experience, or that disapproval that they might feel they need to share with me. But I stand by 100%. The more I've been able to show up unfiltered, unapologetic, the more I have found my people, or my people have found me. I mean, this is literally the way you and I have found each other, right? Like, it's clearly I said something and that made you go, like to have a chat with her. Sounds cool. And if we don't have chats with each other, then we don't know if they're our people. And like I now have friends all around the world, like South African lawyers who I would consider good friends. I've never been to South Africa. I'm not a lawyer. I've never met them in person, but we see each other. Yeah. a guy who lives in Michigan, around a similar age. He's got a technology background, IT background. We've never met each other, but I consider him a friend. And we find each other by the way that we show up, which is why I don't want to show up filtered, because then people are attracted to something that takes effort to continue to keep up.
Our masks are making friends.
Yeah. I don't want to be friends with your mask. I don't know if I have a mask anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, I've never understood it. I've never understood it. Like I'm quite well, very proud to be from the city I'm from, because there's just such a northern tenacity about it of like, we are who we are, go fuck yourself if you don't like it. It just is what it is. Like, people are just so blatant and straightforward, straight shooting. And just like, well, fuck them. Like, who cares? It was only since coming here, like, learning about. Well, I went to the south, and the south of England's very similar to here, in terms of the tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
And I never understood it. What the fuck are you on about? Why? Why would you want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. How do we create any sort of progress? Like, we don't. We stay the same. That sounds like a dumb idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It does.
my question is, how do you deal with that?
Tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, because that is huge here.
So I curate my social, my social tribes, my social media feeds and the people in them really hard. So much so that I don't wait for someone to comment on something that I've posted, but if I'm just reading through other stuff and people are making dumb, critical, judgmental comments or trying to pull each other down, I just block them. I'm just like, thank you for self-deselecting. Like, thank you for showing yourself, so that I can now go, I don't need to deal with you in my world. And I've questioned myself, because it's not about wanting to remove anyone who challenges my thinking. I want my thinking to be challenged. I know that I've still got a lot to learn and a lot of growing to do. And I know that I've got blind spots and I want help finding them. But the people who are just like straight up trolls or just trying to pull each other down, I'm not going to put any effort into them. And I don't need that negativity in my life. So I just block people so that I never have to hear from them ever again. And that makes my LinkedIn feed a beautiful place. It's cool. It's not that there aren't people there who are willing to challenge each other's thinking, but there aren't people there calling names and pulling each other down. I think that when I put myself out there kind of in the media, I'm one of those, I don't read comments. Like, I don't need to. I don't need to read the comments. Someone else can tell me if there's something really lovely and they can forward it to me or something. But ignorance really is bliss.
I agree. I'm exactly the same.
Can't pull me. Yeah, you can't pull me down as a tall poppy if you haven't got anything. If I'm not giving you anything to grab onto.
Yeah, and it also helps being busy.
Oh,
You know what I
yes.
mean? I got shit to do.
Got so much to do. I haven't got time to worry about your shit.
Like, see ya. There's just too much out there to do. There's too many cool things to see and learn, and people to talk to, and there's so much to do, and I think we waste a lot of it, and I think it is wasted. Just, oh, what do they think? Oh, what do they think? I was like, why do you need to know what they think? Do you want to copy it? Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
We're just literally copying what other people think and say. Like, it was like, oh, well, I only need to meet one of you then, because you're all the fucking same.
You're all the same. What was I just going to say? Lost it. There was something about LinkedIn so I will sometimes just unfollow people that I really, really do love and respect and think that they're doing great work. If that comparison thing is going on too much, if I'm feeling triggered by seeing their posts of their good stuff, if it's making me feel a bit envious or a bit threatened, or just that comparison is too strong, then sometimes I might just unfollow them for a little while, just until I kind of get that under control. Because I'm not there for that. I'm not there to compare to anybody else or to compete with anyone else. And so I am really careful to protect, my own well-being like that. And I think the other thing that I would say about the tall poppy thing is it's related. It's not the same. I think that the people who love us the most are the most afraid of us taking risks And so sometimes the people that keep us small, it's purely out of love. It's they want to keep us safe. They want us not to get hurt. And so, like my partner, for example, who I adore, 2 marriages down, this is the charm. He's just like, he's a keeper. And but there are lots of things in my brand and in my business that I wouldn't run by him for his opinion, because his opinion is going to be, oh, I'm like, that's a bit offensive, or that's a bit too in your face, or that's a bit whatever, because he doesn't want me to get hurt. I am going to run those things by other really fucking strong businesswomen that I know who we're just going to like, A, we're going to be like, fuck yes, do it. And B, I've got your back if shit goes down. So I think that there's something to be said about wanting to grow and needing to understand the role of the people in your life who love you.
Yeah, it's certainly not all bad. People aren't just trying to drag you down because of jealousy or whatever. Like sometimes it genuinely is, hey, I just don't want you to get hurt or put yourself in harm's way.
Yeah,
Mm.
100%. And so like as a writing trainer, I've helped so many people write their CVs. And I always say to them, if you want a CV that's going to stand out, it has to feel a bit unconventional, it has to feel a bit bold, has to show a bit of who you are. I don't want you to take this home to your partner or your sister or your best friend or your mum and ask them to look at your CV and give you their opinion, because they will tell you to get rid of all the things that I've just helped you put in there.
Yeah. 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 That is very true.
I think it's been a good learning for me about the people who love me want to keep me safe, and I care very much about their opinions, and they are not always the best place to go for feedback about my own bold moves.
I want to learn about indigenous voices.
Cool.
What does it mean?
I speak for all indigenous voices, Alex. No,
Speak for you people.
but yes, I would love to talk. I would love to talk about that.
Tell me about it. I'm a huge advocate of, you don't know unless you hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Like,
And
fuck, I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah. You saying that kind of sums it up, actually. The challenge for Indigenous voices today is about not being heard. If our voices aren't heard, then we haven't got the seat at the right tables to have the influence about what's going to be good for us. And we truly believe that what's good for us is good for everybody, right? So it's not about what's good for us is, for example, if we say whakawhanaungatanga, which means relationships, that relationships are really important when it comes to your healthcare or your mental health care, that's not going to be a bad thing for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
like we feel really confident that the principles and things that we believe in and the things that we fight for ourselves are really helpful to all humans. And when you said you need to hear it from the horse's mouth, the challenge with an Indigenous voice is about it being accepted with validity from our lived experience. Because if a government or an agency or an organization, if we say, hey, we didn't feel welcomed because of these things that happened, and they go, but you were very welcome, then you are invalidating our Indigenous voice. Now that can be true for anybody's voice. That can be true for the voice of queer, non-binary people, people are neurodiverse people, like everybody. Lived experience is expressed through that voice. So the Indigenous voice speaks to the lived experience of Indigenous people. If you are not hearing what we say we need and accepting that it's valid because it comes from a place of lived experience, then that's where the breakdown is, and that's where the tension will continue to lie. And this current government is a real challenge around that, because they are undoing things that have been the product of Indigenous voices being heard and valued over decades, and now they're undoing it.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's just in pursuit of economics and capitalism, and I don't attribute it to any kind of evil intentions, but I do think that it's about capitalism. It's about money.
Mm.
and that those things are being put before people, and even though the narratives say that they are in pursuit of supporting people, I don't see any way that can be justified.
It's a nice catchphrase, though, isn't it? It gets nice little ballot votes. Just, oh yeah, we support you, and that's just kind of it.
Yeah.
4 years later, we'll vote again. It's bizarre. Like the
oh, go ahead.
No, please.
Well, for example, going back to the Indigenous voice question, and now that we're talking politics, which scares the shit out of me because I don't like upsetting people, but I feel really strongly about just in this current budget, right? And whoever she is, the minister said that this is a budget that is going to serve Māori, because when you show up at the emergency department, nobody cares, nobody's looking at your culture, nobody sees the color or that kind of thing, and we're like, bullshit, like absolute bullshit. Of course, on the face of it, when you walk into an emergency department, no one is consciously putting you into any boxes based on the way that you look. But that's what subconscious bias is all about. And that's why so much funding has to be done to help make sure that we're always making sure that our processes are not systemically racist, and that our processes are making sure that humans' natural inclination to have subconscious bias is being challenged within those systems and processes. It is absolute fact that for some people, because of the way that they look, if they show up at the emergency department, they will get put into a box and get put down in the priority list because of the subconscious decisions that really good humans, doctors, nurses, people doing all the triage, very good people, don't realize that they're subconsciously doing. Like, oh, it's the third time we've seen you here this week, and so clearly we're not going to take this, you're just wasting our time, we're not going to give you the priority. But so for her, the minister, to say nobody's looking at your, what did she say? Race. I think she said race. No, that would be human race. Well, I don't know what she said. I can't remember the words. But to say that when you show up, nobody cares about that, it's not only true on the surface. It's untrue on the surface. It's untrue on every level. Because we wouldn't be there at the emergency department, quite likely, if we weren't already getting failed at other parts of the system. If there wasn't inherent systemic racism that meant that Māori are being underserved in the medical system, which means that they are more likely to end up at the emergency room because they haven't received all the care that they've needed throughout their whole lives, kind of thing. It's just these big cyclical things.
Yeah,
so
makes sense. You've not had the preventative measures, so you end up in the reactive ones. Indigenous
voice is about speaking from a place of lived experience, and it usually also is very connected to the environment as well, and that kind of holistic view about you can't have a sick planet, you can't have healthy people on a sick planet, all those kinds of things.
I find it fascinating, mate. I find it fascinating because I come from a place that has a huge social class issue.
Yeah.
That's where I place my vote. Is the biggest issue is the class divide back home. And I also come from a working class town. I come from a working class part of the town where everyone is broke as piss, right? And everybody's from everywhere, and we're still fucked. And you kind of just figure it out, and you develop this kind of like social abrasion where we all end up coming up with our own kind of de facto rules. We're like, yeah, well, society and how it runs on the floor doesn't quite work like that, you tough, and we kind of carry on. And then I think this place has taught me a hell of a lot of things, but one of them is coming over to a place where you instantly get judged because of where you're from, not because of what you have. And I don't quite get it. Like, you want to see me go from fucking 0 to livid, you call me a pom. Why? Because most people don't actually understand what it fucking means.
No.
right? And it's like, well, okay, cool. Like, let's open up that conversation, but it isn't. It's shut down, instantly.
Mm.
So I can really empathize with a
Yeah.
lot, a lot of different people. It's like, right, well, how do we do this? And a lot of the time, the conversation is null. And you're like, well, if we're not having a conversation, we don't know how to do it. And then we get no progress. We don't actually achieve fucking anything.
Yep.
And it fragments people and it
Mm.
splinters them off into the four corners of the country or the world, and what is baffling to me, mate, is I spent a lot of time working with kids back home, and
Mm.
these kids were in a really bad spot, mate. Like,
Mm. Mm.
machetes trying to thrown at them, orphans, you name it, real bad spot. Anyway, I come over here and I learn, oh yeah, New Zealand's got the highest rate of teen suicide in the Western world. And you're like, why? This place is paradise. Like I walk the earth here and be like, oh, heaven exists. I should probably go to church on Sundays because it's here. Right. And you're like, well, why are they swinging from trees? This doesn't make any sense. And then you actually live here a little bit and, listen to how people talk or don't to one another, and you start to understand why.
Mm.
And it doesn't make any sense. How about we create a unified people for one? Because nations are a little bit daft, if you ask me.
Mm.
But in the words of John Lennon, they say I'm a dreamer. But I do not think I'm the only one.
Mm. Mm.
There's so much to learn from one another, mate. And
Oh, absolutely.
I go back to
Absolutely.
it.
And the only thing that comes to my mind about when you say the phrase one people, one people in purpose and in respect for one another and in care for one another,
Yeah,
as long as in that idea of one people, we are still allowing the separate identities that
yeah,
that make us who we are, right? There's a problem when, for me and for most indigenous people and people of color and people of any marginalized kind of part of society, when we're all just the same. Well, no, we're not.
mm,
We're not the same at all. We are really different, but therein lies the richness, learning from one another. And I know that's what I hear you talking about. The ability to learn from one another. Oh, your lived experience is different than mine. And I never thought about it that way because I'd never experienced that. So one people united in our respect for each other, in moving forward to similar goals, but not one people in terms of homogenizing anything. That's where that takes me right back to suicide, right? Don't make me fit into your box. And the shame that carries when I think that I'm different and I can't fit into the boxes that people think that I should. And shame, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the number one thing that we need to deal with as a nation, of being able to talk, of understanding that shame is something that destroys humans, it rips us to shreds. And that we actually know how shame works because of the work of Brené Brown. If we bring things out into the open and we don't keep secrets and we don't judge it, there's no shame anymore. Telling our stories out in the open and being accepting of them and not keeping secrets, and we would be in a whole lot better place if, as a society, we could nurture that we don't have to carry shame.
there is a oneness in diversity.
Yes, 100% that. Love that.
Like, we are all the same, but we're also different at the same time. And
Yes.
you are able to voice your opinion with the most intensity that you can find, but you have to pair it with listening with the same amount of intensity. Like, you got to be prepared to be completely fucking wrong. Like, and I'm blonde, mate. I'm wrong all the time. Like, it just happens.
Oh.
It's the nature of the beast.
Right. I tell people, like people, apparently I say some wise things occasionally, but I also really want people to be like, and some days I put my G-string on backwards
Yeah,
and don't
yeah.
realize it till the end of the day. So, just like, let's just make sure that we're putting things in balance. I've learned some shit. I'm still fucking learning some shit. Yeah. I'm
That's
like,
the way.
I don't know if you should listen to my advice.
I think that's the way to go about it, though. It ties life comedic brush,
Yeah.
and there is so many more colors we can fuck around with rather than just bloody beige.
Oh my God,
It,
yes.
it seems like we just have to walk single file, queue on the left, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags fucking full, sir. Let me get my suit and tie on. I was like, mate, you don't want to see me in a suit and tie anyway. And I'd never fork out $300 to fucking wear something uncomfortable to sit in a chair. And I'm like, I'm not bloody ADHD kid who wants to get up and do something.
Me too. I got to tell you, as soon as I started breaking the rules, my happiness levels and my success levels in terms of business just kept going up and up and up for the
Yeah,
past
mate.
12 years. There's evidence, like you can quantify